So is this James Harden step back a travel for you? That's a big question. I had the video the other day that went crazy viral, got a lot of comments, a lot of controversy, and I want to make sure I cleared some things up about what's legal for players that are like in high school, grade school, middle school, college. At the end of the video, I will link you to that other James Harden video so you can see all the details broke down as far as what the NBA rules are and how things work for him and if it's legal or not. But for you guys, things are a little bit different if you're playing pickup basketball or, again, college down. So I'm going to break down everything in detail, the different types of step backs Harden does and whether they're legal or not for you. And I'll give you the things you want to make sure you're looking out for so you make sure you're not getting called for a travel or even possibly like a carry. Coach Jesse Muench with Get Handles Basketball. We train harder and smarter so you can play like the pros. If that's something you're looking to do, make sure you subscribe and click that bell icon to catch the newest videos. In some instances, you don't want to play like the pros. Not quite yet, because the rules are slightly different in the NBA. First thing we got to talk about, though, is the James Harden step back isn't just one step back. A lot of people commented on that video saying, he travels all the time on his step backs. The thing you got to keep in mind is there's different kinds of step backs. And the one that he does that's really controversial that a lot of people think he does travel on, he doesn't really do it all the time. He only does it like once in a while. And that's the one where he comes here and takes that extra little hop back. Now I'm going to go over that move and why it would or would not be a travel for you, but let's keep in mind some of his other ones. One of the big ones he does a lot is this kind of snatch back one where he'll take a step forward, step back in, go into it. That's completely legal for you. The one where he'll do kind of like a side step, that one's completely legal. So you cross it over, 1-2 step right into it. He also has one where he'll kind of cross the ball forward and then hop back. That one's good to go. Nothing to worry there because you're gathering the basketball right into that hop. So it's almost just like a hop. And then the one where he takes like a regular dribble, jabs in, and then hops back. That one you're good to go. This is the one we got to talk about a little bit more because there's some details you want to make sure you're looking at. And I've got a hack for you to make sure that the way you're doing it is completely legal. The next thing we got to talk about is your hand position when you're going into your gather. And from there's another rule that we got to talk about that's a little bit more controversial, but click the like button if those first tips helped you. On the video, I talked about how you can have as many steps as you want while you're dribbling. You can stutter step, right? And that's completely legal. Even like footwork patterns, like you can't on your 2 steps hop on the same foot and go into your layup. But if you're starting from skip, and you're dribbling like that, you can go up and down on that same foot as much as you want, and that's completely legal. Well, you're allowed to do that in the NBA rule book if your hand is on top of the basketball and you're skipping into it and then going into your gather. It's not looked as your steps counting until you've picked up the basketball or your hand comes under the basketball. So your steps don't count, your footwork patterns, none of that counts. That's the rule in the NBA rule book. But then there were some good questions in the comments. Some people said, well, couldn't you just palm the basketball and then your dribble's still technically alive and you can pretty much take a million steps and do whatever you want? Yeah, I guess you could, but that's a carry. A carry isn't just if your hand's under the basketball. If you're palming the basketball, that is technically a carry. Now, granted, it might be hard for refs to always pick that up, but if you are really floating that basketball in the hand for a long time, after a while, refs are going to start to pick up on that and they're going to call you for it. Second thing to keep in mind is I've seen players like in college even go like from a stutter step and go right into a jump shot, right? You've got to keep in mind with that and any of this stuff that I'm giving you that refs are going to call things a lot differently. Some refs are going to let you get away with adding that little hop in, before you get into that 2 steps, right? They're gonna allow you to go from a crossover and put those extra steps in like Harden does if your hand is in a legal position before you start picking up the basketball. In a legal dribble position, they won't start counting those steps. I would say more often than not, they're gonna start counting those steps the second it looks like that dribble is dead. So even if your hand's in a legal position and they see a lot of steps going into that shot, you're probably gonna get called for a travel. So I would highly recommend you keep that in mind. Like some refs might be a little bit more loose, and if you can get by with that, hey, go ahead and roll with it. But more often than not, at the younger levels, you're gonna get called for that travel. Next thing we have to talk about is something that's really controversial, and then I'll give you the way to make sure that this extra little hop step that Harden does, I'll give you a way to make that legal. So here's where things got a little controversial. For you, there should be no controversy, and here's why. The 0 step, or the gather step. So this is something that's in the NBA now, where basically when you pick up the basketball, if I pick it up on this step, this is just my gather step. So they're not counting that step. It's your 0 step, and then you get the 1, 2. Same thing on that step back. So what Harden will do is he'll cross over, bring the ball back in here, and he's on his 0 step. So this dribble's still alive, ball's in, 0, 1, 2, and then he'll go into that shot. If you're in college basketball, if you're in high school basketball, or anything below that, especially like at younger ages, that's gonna get called for a travel because there is no 0 step. So you have to make sure you understand that. That's a big reason I'm making this video, because I want to make sure that's clear. Sometimes like on your layups, they might let it slide where, you know, you could take your 1, 2, 3, 0, 1, 2, however you want to word it, and you might get by with that on fast break or something happened in game speed action where it's really hard to tell exactly when you picked up the basketball. But things like your step back, if you're doing this, you're done. You're getting called for a travel, turnover, other team's ball. Okay, so the way to make this Harden crossover where he takes the step back in and then the little extra hop back legal for you. Probably wouldn't want to overly take advantage of trying to float the basketball in your hand so your dribble's still alive and stepping back in. And you also don't want to take advantage of that little hop step back, right? There's something else you can do that a lot of people haven't thought of. You could cross over and not pick the basketball up. And you might be watching that and saying, well, yeah, but you're really exposing the basketball. Yes, you are, but you're also pulling the ball right away from your defender. Here's the video that breaks down if Harden travels on his step back or not. And here's another video that'll help you with creating separation for jump shots in a completely legal way. Click that like button, the subscribe button, and the bell icon to catch the newest videos, and I'll see you in this video or this video next.